Hello and welcome to another edition of Inside the Agency, where we talk about the latest concerns and topics of independent agents. I'm your host, Daniel Ochoa, and with me once again is Mark Hilton. Glad to have you back, Mark.
Thank you very much for having me again.
Mark, today we're going to be talking about a topic that is a big concern in the industry, and that is theft. Unfortunately, it is a big problem in this industry, and it happens a lot to agents who don't spend a lot of time in the office. It also happens a lot to agents who have multiple locations. Mark, can you share with us some of the ways that agents are committing fraud inside these agencies?
Absolutely. Just as you indicated, when the agent owner is not participating in actually the management of his company or her company and actually staying on top of it, there's a great disconnect that happens. And when this disconnect happens, a lot of the employees begin to exploit this for their financial benefits. One of the major ways that they commit fraud against the agency or exposure E&O is through a fraudulent certificate holders. By generating fraudulent certificates and certificate holders, they can pocket the money easily, and a lot of times the agency owner has no idea what is going on until a loss occurs.
Yeah, and you know, another way is just the handling of money. I mean, let's be honest. You know, you have an employee going through a hard time. He's handling hundreds of dollars every day. It's tempting. The problem is once they start, they don't stop. And one of the ways they do it is, you know, a customer comes in your office to make a payment. They go to the company website, they print out the receipt from the carrier website, give it to the customer, and then they don't input it in the management system. And the reason they're going to post it at the carrier website is because they do know by not posting it at the carrier website, that insured is going to probably receive a cancellation notice in 2-3 weeks. And that employee is going to get caught pretty quick. But by not posting it in the management system, if the owner's not tracking this stuff on a daily basis, he has no clue, and that employee is going to be stealing from him for the rest of the time he's employed there. Another way that what they're doing is, you know, the customer comes in and they tell the insured that the system is down. And so they go to Office Depot and they buy a receipt book. And I can't believe they still do this today. They'll buy a receipt book and tell the insured that the system's down and they have to handwrite the receipt. And so they walk out with a receipt, and once again, they don't put it into Agency Matrix. And this is for a lot of, because there's a lot of agents out there that don't print the carrier receipt. They just print the one in the management system. So by giving them a hand receipt, that takes care of the receipt problem. Now, one of the things, and I was taught this by an agent in Texas who had 18 locations, and I thought it was a great idea. What he does is he prints a receipt out of Agency Matrix. He puts it in a frame, and then he puts it up by the front door that says, make sure you leave with a receipt that looks like this. If not, and he has the cell phone number right there. That way when they walk out, they can look at the number. If it doesn't match, they'll call the owner and tell them, hey, I just left your office, and I have a receipt that does not look like the one that's not posted by your front door. I thought that was a great idea.
Absolutely. There's another contingency which you can use, such as an illustration like this. We have a feature within Agency Matrix called a text receipt text, where you can actually put a default message that's built on the receipt as it's printed off and given to the customer, such as you can put messages, if the amount on this receipt is correct, please sign below. So that now the client will go through and sign the actual physical receipt, acknowledging to the owners that they did receive this money and that this certain individual has taken on the behalf of the insurance company and is making the true deposits as they need to. So this way you can have multiple contingencies within it to help you minimize this risk.
Yeah, and you know, if you're not staying on top of your transactions, I mean, you're literally opening up the door to your employees to take, you know, money from your office and pocket it in their pocket. I'm going to show you how you can prevent this on a daily basis. We have a nice tool in here called the Sweep Report. Every day you come in, you click on your report tab here, and then you click on the Sweep Report. You're going to want to go back about 4 or 5 days every day. So you're going to go back, I'm going to go back 5 days here, and I'm going to print this report, or pull up the report. Now, as you can see, the report shows me all my carriers, all the transactions that took place in my office, and the amount that each carrier is going to sweep my account. Now, if you notice, this first one here says Progressive. They're going to sweep my account $840. Now, I check my bank account. they swept it $940. Right away, I know that either one or two things happened. Either Progressive made a mistake or somebody in my office just stole $100. So this is going to let you catch it within days instead of, not having a clue of what's going on. Now, one of the other problems is, Progressive, out of these 5 transactions that I have here, Progressive might only sweep 4 of the transactions. And the reason for this is that, maybe I wrote 4 policies early in the day. That evening I wrote one more, and it didn't catch their cycle, whatever cycle they're on. And so when I check my bank account, only 4 of them have cleared. The way you track that in our system, if you notice here, there's a little checkbox here on each transaction. So as you look at your bank statement, you're going to be checking off only the ones that have cleared. Once you check all the ones that have cleared from all your carriers, you're going to put in today's date up here at the top, and then you're going to click on update. And then that's going to put a date now showing when it cleared. So tomorrow, when you run this report for 5 days back, you're going to see that those 4 have cleared, and now you only have to worry about that one. It really lets you stay on top of every transaction that happens in your office, and it helps you to catch any transaction that was never entered into the system. Mark, can you think of anything else?
Yeah, one of the major areas in which a lot of agency owners suffer losses from is through the company time clock. And so, and time is very precious. It costs by the hour. And so, and when you got 3 or 4 or 5 employees, it begins to add up at the end of the month, not including all your overhead, all the other things that you got to pay for to keep your company going. So we have developed a new program system, a reporting. It's a security feature where it literally go through and begin to start to detect any unusual activities that's occurring within your management system, such as I was indicating the time frames. So we actually, when we first started implementing this into it as a test, we pulled up one of our actual customers who were actually working with us on this. And as we begin to run the security exam and run the reports, we begin to find out through the time clock, for example, is that this agent owner had one particular employee that was working for him that had roughly about 240 hours extra than normal. So through a span of time, this one employee has accumulated literally 240 hours times, say $12 an hour, is a lot of money. But as the owner began to dive into the report and figure out what is going on, begin to realize that the manager, who happened to be the employee's boyfriend, like that, was feeding the employee extra hours to beef up the paycheck at the expense of the agency owner. But because the agency owner was disconnected from the company and let other people do things for them, it was easy for the manager to commit fraud within his company by assigning his girlfriend more hours when she really didn't work it. So the system has help you to reduce a lot of that exposure and get you some of the most concise information you need to know about your company.
Yeah, a lot of people think, because they trust someone, that person will never commit any kind of fraud.
Now remember, because you have a licensed fiduciary working for you, it doesn't necessarily mean they act that way sometimes.
That's true. This is a true story. About 4 years ago, I had a old friend of mine call me up. He wanted to look at our system. I showed him a demo. I kept bugging him for, a couple months. Just take a look. He finally calls me up, says, okay, I'll take a look. At the end of it, he's like, Dan, it looks great, but, it's all family here. I don't have to worry about anything. And I said, well, sometimes family, do things, and not intentionally, but they make mistakes, and, the system will help track that. And he said, well, no, we've been in business for 10 years. I don't think we have a problem. True story. About 6 months later, he calls me up, and he says, hey, Dan, I want to take another look at the system and I'm thinking about signing up. I said, what changed your mind? He said, my niece has been stealing from me, and I have no idea how long she's been stealing. And he signed up, and he's a customer today. There's a lot of things you can do with a management system that will help prevent any kind of, exposure to theft. And one of the things, too, Mark was talking about the time clock. We also have investigative reporting. That, let's say that you do have somebody you trust and you give them the ability to edit and void receipts. Well, in our investigative reporting, we have a report right here called Edit Void Receipts. You run this every week. It's gonna show you every receipt that was voided or edited throughout that week, and it's gonna tell you who did it, the date they did it, and why they did it. So it lets you stay on top of everything, even though you have people who have, manager level of access to the system. You can still go back and check things to make sure they're doing things correctly. I think it's a great tool.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things that Agency Matrix offers to help you. There is no system, or there's no system out there that will prevent or stop all types of loss. It's impossible. The basic is to actually restrict, to minimize, and reduce as much as exposure to your losses as much as possible. And Agency Matrix can provide that for you to help you reduce this loss or the exposure, especially to your E&O, by utilizing. But once you stay on top of it, you know exactly what you need to achieve by running these reports.
That's a really good point, Mark. Good answer to that question. I mean, as Mark said, let's be honest. There is no 100% foolproof management system out there, but you can eliminate the potential of having fraud or theft in your agency greatly by having a management system. And I'm surprised how many agents still do not have a management system, Mark. Do you find that?
It's actually shocking. A lot of people are still on spreadsheets, files, and cabinets, which was great back in the 80s, but now, we're in the 21st century where everything's streamlined. It's lifetime information, point and click and go.
Yeah, I talk to agents all the time. People call in, I'll answer the phone because I get on the phone a lot. And people call in saying they're interested in the demo, and I'll say, what system are you on? They'll say, well, we don't have a system. And I say, how long have you been in business? We've been in business for 12 years. And let's be honest, don't kid yourself. If you do not have a management system and you have 4 or 5 employees working in your office and you are not there 100% of the time, chances are that there is something going on in your office that you're not aware of. And it could be fraud, it could be theft, it could be other things. It could be like Mark spoke about earlier. It could be that some of your employees are selling ID cards or certificates for money. But don't kid yourself. A management system is important, whether it's us or someone else. Everyone should have a management system. Would you agree?
I agree. The purpose of the management is not only to track and keep hold of your client database, but ultimately is to protect your book of business and the information you have ascertained throughout the years. So one of the major features that our management system offers is prevent the agents from actually downloading or stealing or pirating your client or your book of business and then going down the road to your competitors to offer it for more money. So with the management system in place, you can restrict this from happening. So this way, it makes it very difficult for them to try to steal your book of business. But without a management system, anybody can just go to your Microsoft spreadsheets and download it and save it and then walk off the door, off your property with it.
Yeah. So, I'm here to tell you that it's very important to get a management system, and we'd love to show you a demo of ours. We have all these features, all these, investigative reports to help you to eliminate any kind of problems that you're having in your agency. That's about our time. Do we have time for any questions? Okay, yeah, I guess we have time for a couple questions. Let me go to here. Okay, I have Tanya here from Oklahoma. She's saying that she caught an employee printing off old receipts and handing them to the customer. Tanya, sorry about that. She wants to know if there's anything that Agency Matrix can do to prevent that. Tanya, yes. Agency Matrix has a feature in the back office where you can set it up where your employees can no longer print a receipt once it's 5 days old. Yeah, and that's one of the things we didn't talk about, Mark. One of the tricks that these employees are doing is a customer comes in, they upload the payment to the company website, they go in the management system and they print off last month's receipt because the payment is the exact same amount. And the customer doesn't notice that the date is wrong, he's just looking at the amount.
Yes,
And
that is correct.
Yeah, so Tanya, yes, we have a solution for that. Let me go to the next question. We have Mike from Texas. He says, I do a lot of dealership business. How does Agency Matrix track that type of business and the cash?
That's a good question, Mike. I have an actual good, true, live case. I had a good friend of mine who had a dealership business, and that's all he did, roughly run about 175 dealerships. He'd do about 60, 70, 80 policies a day just through dealership business alone. And so he had runners that would go through all the dealerships to pick up all the cash because clients would leave the money with the sales reps. So, through a span and period of time, he began to suffer losses, and this is a true thing. He began to suffer roughly about $30,000 in losses, which went unexplainable. And so what was happening is his runners were going and picking up the money, but when they were coming back to the report in, they would report that the sales rep was gone, he was on vacation, he wasn't available. But because the owner was so preoccupied with so many other projects, he never followed up through it. So literally all the money was slipping through the cracks. So we had developed a new system where we have what's called a dealership report, where it actually will help you keep track of all the itemized things that's going on through the dealerships. So you know exactly all your money, who's getting paid, and who's feeding you your book of business, so you can stay on top of it. And as you go through it, you can make sure as a checkoff list if these have been has been collected and paid off on.
Yeah, it kind of works like the sweep report.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. Okay, we have one more question. This is from Michelle in Indiana. She's asking that, how do you keep track of carrier receipts? Okay, well, how do you keep track of carrier? I think I know what you're talking about. I just had an agent about 2 months ago in California tell me that, you know, that her employees are forgetting to upload the payment to the carrier. They get so busy, customer comes in, they want to get to the next customer, they put it in Agency Matrix, give them a receipt, and they're not putting it in the carrier website. She asked me the same question. I need to find a way to make it simpler to, when I work my sweep report, I want to make sure that payment that I'm looking at was also made at the carrier site. So what we did was we give now agents the ability, and let me show you here. We give the agents, if you notice in our sweep report, we added a new column. It says carrier receipt. There's a link here. So now once they go in and post that payment at the carrier website, they can scan that receipt, upload it to our payment that's attached to that client. Then when you click on this image here, it pulls up the receipt for the carrier website. That's really cool because now, instead of clearing these off, you can clear them off after you check the receipt to make sure that the carriers are also being paid.
Yeah.
Anything else you think, Mark?
I think that's about it.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's about it. We're pretty much done. I want to thank you once again for joining us. Until next time, you all have a great week.
Thank you.